Hey, Monkees fans! Welcome to another Podcast Valley Sunday. I am one of your hosts, Chris Paco.
And I'm your other host, Jeff Cameron.
How's it going, Jeff?
Oh, a little ahead of the game apparently, but I'm doing all right.
You're so eager. You're so anxious to get
For
into
real,
this
man.
one.
I can't wait to talk about this particular episode of the Monkees.
This is a great episode. I really liked it a lot. Had a good time with it. It is episode 37, Art for Monkees Sake, directed by our buddy Al Singer, written by one of the best names in the game, Coslow Johnson, originally aired on October 9th, 1967.
Coslow Johnson sounds like he throws left-handed relief for the White Sox or something.
Yeah, exactly. Had one of those huge mustaches. And we're coming up to Halloween again, so I bet you now there's probably more monkeys going out for Halloween. Kids dressed as the monkeys.
Monkey men costumes.
But like their moms are painting big sideburns on them, the guy who's Mike.
Definitely.
And so I've got to say, for this episode, I really enjoy this episode a lot. It was a lot of fun.
To the point where I don't think we watched it a ton back in the day. Do you remember watching this on the tapes? It was not familiar. And there's that picture later on of them in the frame with the black shirts that I don't remember seeing anywhere else. So I was like, have we seen this?
It slipped through the cracks somehow. Maybe Much Music didn't have this episode or something and it never aired.
Something like that appears to be the case.
Well, it's a great episode. It's great times. It was filmed at the tail end of last season. That's why Mickey still has his first season Mickey hair.
Yep.
And so anyway, let's get right into this. So right. Peter's at the pad. He's painting a life-size picture of the door. That's at the pad. And he stands back to admire his work, and the other guys walk in. And Mickey tries to open the painting door and then bounces into it a few times. And they roll the footage back and forth.
We should have a count going of how many times Mickey does some sort of slapstick video trickery nonsense during the cold open.
We really should. If it was a drinking game, we'd be trashed by the end of the intro. So Davey says that it's a great painting. And Mickey asks why he's painting doors.
What have you got against doors?
Oh, my head.
Which is pretty funny. Davey says that the door hit him right in the head and that it's a stone drag.
Hit him right in the head, man. That's a stone drag.
It's interesting bringing stone drag back as well. Mike says that Peter should go to the art museum to be inspired by the great painters. And then we cut to Peter. He's at the art museum and he's painting a copy of one of their doors. You gotta wonder how he almost had the whole thing done. Or he did have the whole thing done. So he was there. He just set up shop in the museum. Art museum.
For real.
So the security guard, his name is Chooch, is played by Vic Taybeck. He tries to use the door and smashes into the painting. And he asks Peter what he's doing there. And he says that he's there to be inspired by the great painters. And a security guard starts to rough Peter up. But then another security guard named Deuce. I assume it's Deuce or is it Duce?
Duce. I don't know. Does anyone say it ever?
I don't think anyone ever does say it. I only know it because I looked him up. It says maybe. Anyway, I'm going to call him Deuce because it sounds cool. Chooch and Deuce.
Why not douche?
Maybe. Yeah, Chooch and douche.
Chooch and douche. Mornings on 103.7. Chooch and the douche.
Good morning, everybody. It's 77 degrees here in the valley. So anyway, we'll call him Deuce. Deuce starts to rough up Chooch, and he asks him what he told him about using his hands while smacking Chooch in the face.
What do you use your hands for? I told you not to use your hands.
It's actually really funny. And this, of course, is Monty Landis playing Deuce. Yes. And so Deuce and Peter talk for a little bit, and Deuce says that Peter's a really good painter, and Peter says that he's also a bass player. And Chooch said Chooch says that they should kill both of them.
Oh my God.
Chooch has some real anger issues in this whole episode.
For real.
He wants to kill Peter so badly the whole entire time.
Isn't this character okay, Vic's been in the show a couple times. Isn't he always kind of doing the same thing? Either he's dressed like a gypsy or he's
pretty much
like a gangster and he just wants to beat up the monkeys in different outfits.
Yeah, I wonder if he was ever like, why do I always want to beat these kids up? Or I wonder if he hated these kids and always wanted to beat them up. Hey, Hey, Vic, do you want to be in the Monkees? Only if I can beat them up. All right, come on. You're going to be a security guard.
He's a real love and spoonful guy. He just hates these monkeys.
Paul Revere has the best version of Stepping Stone. I don't care what you say. So anyway, Deuce takes Chooch aside, and he says that if they want to steal the painting, they could use this boy, but he has to show some finesse because they're in an art museum. So then Deuce tells Peter that he should paint something else that's more up to his talent, and he shows him a painting by Franz Hals called The Laughing Cavalier. And Peter says, yeah, you're right, and he tries to paint right on the painting, but they stop him in time. Thank goodness. So then we hit the intro. And we come back to like a swanky 60s spy-inspired theme song as they're putting the credits up.
Yeah, the blurry shot of that painting.
Yeah.
It's a neat touch.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I really love in second season how they're all the different themes, like the different like jingly themes.
It's nice.
And Peter's working on his version of the painting, and it's really, really great. And he backs up to take a look at it, and he bumps into Chooch, who wants to clobber him, but Deuce pulls him back. And Deuce tells Chooch that they're going to use Peter's painting and switch it with the original.
And then what do we do?
Then we sell the painting and make a fortune.
And then what do we do?
Then we buy tickets to Europe.
So back at the pad, Mike is worried about Peter, and he hopes that he didn't insult him.
Well, to insult somebody, they have to understand you.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Willie should be here any minute.
There's a lot of Peter being the dummy things in this episode.
Yes.
So at the museum, Pete has drawn a green wool hat on the head of the Laughing Cavalier. And Deuce asks him what's up with the hat. And Peter says,
It's Mike's hat. It's knitted.
Which you might recognize from the Wool Hat of Mystery theme song. It's one of the clips we use.
You've heard of wool hats, haven't you?
It's Mike's hat. It's knitted.
There are actually two separate tracks on that recording. One of them is me holding my phone up to the mic, playing the Mickey clip and then hitting stop. And another track is me holding the phone up to the mic, hitting the Peter clip and then hitting stop. And it took several tries to get it right on the recording. You can still hear some weirdness. But yes, thanks for pointing that out.
So Peter and Deuce have a funny exchange about needed and knitted.
Yes.
It's Mike's hat. It's knitted.
I know it's knitted, but it's not needed.
How did you know it was knitted?
I can tell it's knitted, but it's not needed.
Oh, for a minute I thought you knew Mike.
It's pretty funny.
That exchange about the hat being knitted and needed, and even the thing about, and then what do we do? This is the difference between a Jack Winter joke and a Coslow Johnson joke.
Yes.
Coslow got like the back and forth, set up, punchline. Oh, extra punchline versus, oh, I thought you knew Mike. That's a fun little thing at the end. Meanwhile, the jokes in some of the previous episodes were like, set up, pun, set up, pun. It's like a different vibe, a different kind of style of comedy.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think one's better than the other. Because people have written about how the other thing, that's what the Monkees is about, like the puns and the jokes. And I agree with it. But then sometimes you just get hit over the head so often. It's like when you have an episode like this, it's like, oh, and then there's this as well. The Monkees are also this kind of joke.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's no, I like them both, but I do enjoy the variety.
Definitely.
So Chooch wants to belt Peter, and Deuce is thinking about allowing him to do it because he's so mad that he put the hat on the thing. He's put the hat on the Laughing Cavalier. And but then they see the curator, who's played by Arthur Mallet or Mallet, and then they run into the basement with Peter and the painting. So they just kind of hide out. So at the pad, the boys are eating breakfast, and at the table is Mr. Schneider, like a big return. I think we were just talking about that. What happened to Mr. Schneider? So
yeah,
and he's wearing Peter's orange pajamas with the blue bunny on it, like going back to like the Haunted Mansion episode.
Yep.
Mike asks why they're eating with Mr. Schneider, and Davey says that Peter isn't back yet and they missed him. And Mike's surprised he's not back yet. It's been all night, and they're kind of just like noticing he's still not back. And Mickey hopes that he's not in any trouble. And Davey asks how much trouble can a person get into at a museum?
He's in trouble.
He's in trouble.
So at the basement of the museum, Peter's almost done the painting, but he's just not feeling it. He says if they could tell him something about the painting, he could get inspired.
But this guy, he's a class of guy. He's a guy what have a lot of class, have a lot of money. The guy is a good dresser, you see, with the ruffles, with the style. This guy got a lot of style, with a big hat, get all the girls, you understand?
And I think it's one of Monty Landis's best bits so far. Like, this character I really loved of Monty Landis.
For real, yeah.
The Duce, douche.
Such difference between his characters. Like, either this the different accent or the look or the mustache or something. It's like, that's what being a character actor's all about. And he knocks it out of the park right away. I think this is the first episode they produced with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the second one they shot. And the first with him out of how many you said? I forget. Like 6 or 7 or 8, right?
Yeah.
This season?
6, yeah.
Who appears in more episodes, him or Valerie? We'll send that to the boys down at the Podcast Valley Labs, and we'll get back to that later.
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's also, you can see why they wanted him to be in every episode, playing a different character in every episode.
Yeah, the versatility on display is unreal.
Yeah, just be a lot of fun as well. So anyway, now all the boys, they've gone to the museum and they're looking for Peter. And they decide to each check out studio 1, 2, and 3, and they assign them. And then when they each go to their studio, they all bump into each other and just like wrestle their way through to try to get to where they're going. It's like they all had to go walk straight. And they all walked straight into each other. And in the basement, Peter's finished the painting, and in the background, Chooch is like rubbing his brass knuckles. He's about to hit Peter with them when Peter says he has to wait, and Chooch freezes with his hand cocked back. And then Peter notices and says that it looks fantastic.
That's fantastic.
And so now all the boys are all tangled up with each other. And then Mike has an idea. They should just switch which studios they're going to. And they unravel, and they all just go about their business.
That scene is cute because it shows off their like sort of improv, physical comedy, and just their general comfort level with each other at this point.
Yeah, it's a great second season. I know it shot first season, but their comfort level with each other, and just to make that funny. It's like, okay, I get it, but they make it funny because you're fully on with the Monkees at this point anyway. Yep. So in the basement, Deuce says he's going to look upstairs to go look around. And when they get the painting up on the wall and they get the real painting, then Chooch can wall up Peter if he wants to. So Mickey walks into one of the studios and there's an artist there. His name is Michael Bell. And Mickey says, "Excuse me, but I want to..."
You want what? To be an artist? You could never be an artist. You have no beard.
And then Mickey asks if he ever uses brushes because the artist is just painting with his fingers. And he says that he needs to feel the paint on his fingers and in his soul. And they cut to his feet, and his feet are also painting with the canvases on the floor. And so then Mickey just asks if he's seen Peter and describes him, and he says that he's weird looking. And the artist takes offense to that and grabs Mickey's shirt with his dirty paint hands. And then he says Mickey owes him $1,500 for the work of art on his shirt because it's going to be worth money someday. And then Mickey runs away. Deuce comes back downstairs, and he says that the coast is clear and asks if the painting's finished. And Peter says yes. Chooch is about to smash him when the phone rings, and Deuce answers it. And it's the curator telling him that the warning bell has sounded and that it's about to close and the security guard should be upstairs. So Deuce tells him that he's on his way, and Chooch has to wait to beat Peter up. And so Deuce gets Peter to sit down, and he tells him that what's the most important thing for an artist. And he says it's to suffer. And then they stick this gag in Peter's mouth, and they tie him up to a chair, and they go upstairs. So Peter has to suffer for his art. Then we cut to Podcast Valley Sunday debut, surreal moment of the episode.
Oh, boy.
So Mike is walking around yelling for Peter, but he's shushed by a bunch of people who are all dressed up, all these snooty people. And then Mike stands there. Then all of a sudden Liberace walks out in this white sparkly suit, and he takes out this gold sledgehammer and just starts smashing this piano to pieces.
We would have remembered this.
Yeah.
I did not remember this.
You can see Mike in the background, like falling over a couple times laughing. And Liberace seems to be having a great time smashing his piano. And And then after a while, Mike just like skulks out the door and just leaves these people to watch Liberace smash his piano with a gold sledgehammer.
What could he possibly contribute to the scene in there? It's like, that's it.
But with this whole thing, Liberace's uncredited in the episode.
Yeah.
He just shows how they get him to be in this episode somehow, and he just smashes his piano.
It's wild.
It's fantastic. And this has been the surreal moment of the episode. Thank you. Brought to you by Chooch and Douche in the mornings. So now, the curator, who seems to be completely oblivious to everything around him entirely and just begging to get rused, he doesn't notice Chooch hanging the fake painting or Deuce holding the real one.
Could say he's cruising for a rusin'.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. He just bitches at them to be more punctual, and he leaves. And then Deuce tells Chooch to take the real painting to the basement, and they'll finish Peter off. So the boys are all back together, and Mike is saying that they've looked everywhere, but he's gone. And Davey asks if they checked the basement, and Mike says only a fool would be in the basement.
He's in the basement.
And this, we'll talk about this now. This is a very Davey light episode. He's not in it too much, and we don't get to see what he saw in a studio, if anything.
Yeah. I wonder if they even shot it, or if it was just in the script and they knew it was going to be long, or they didn't want to shoot it, or whatever.
It was just with a girl. He just kisses a girl or something like that, or I don't know. It's a...
Yeah, there's been no Davy birds in any of these episodes. Oh, no. Except in the first one in Mexico.
I'm too busy shagging birds all the time, man. Don't worry about me. I'm not in the episodes for a reason, man. I'm quite busy. Trust me.
You know what? It's season 2. He's no longer topless like 5 seconds into the intro anymore.
She's got my jacket.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a factor.
All the princesses got married, man. There's nothing for me to do anymore, man. I'm just hanging out. So anyway, thank you, Davey Powers. So Chooch puts the painting in the basement and he pinches Peter on the cheek, and that's an entire scene. And upstairs, Deuce and Chooch are hanging the fake picture. The boys go into the basement and search for Peter, who's sitting right in front of them, but they walk right past him and they're all yelling his name. They finally find him, and they're pretty nonchalant about it after looking for him all day, and he's been missing all night.
Oh, hi, Pete. Peter.
It's like, oh, Peter, there you are. Hey.
So it's like they're probably used to it. Oh, he's not dead again.
Yeah, it's more of that. Just like, oh, like, there you are, tied to a chair, of course. And so Mickey asks why he's sitting down there with a gag in his mouth, and Mike takes it off, and then Mickey says, "What are you doing there, sitting with the gag out of your mouth?" And Peter says that he's suffering for his art. And the boys see the painting and says that it's really great. And Peter tells them that the man who painted that was brilliant.
That means they've switched the paintings.
Oh my God.
And we see the one upstairs, and it's signed Peter Tork in white in the bottom corner.
I mean, like, okay, Coslow Johnson has a problem with Peter Tork. That's what we can surmise from the direction of this episode.
Yeah.
The looming beatdown, the verbal abuse, the dummy dressed in his clothing. This is just reprehensible.
And actually, I've looked it up here. Coslow Johnson is actually Vic Taybeck.
Wow.
Who just wants to beat Peter up the whole episode.
Finkel is Einhorn.
The boys take the painting to the stupid curator, who tells them that the museum is closed and that they'll have to leave, and he splits. Again, useless. Then Mike goes to a security guard and tries to tell him, but it's Chooch. And then Peter tells Mike that it's one of the thieves, and Chooch gets mad that Peter's double-crossed them and has a new crew. It's like he's hurt by it.
Man, oh man.
Mike goes back to the curator, and he tells Mike to go away again. So Mickey goes up to another security guard, who turns out to be Deuce, who also isn't too impressed with Peter.
Jesus Christ.
So now all the boys go back to the curator with the painting and tell him that the painting on the wall is fake, and the curator tells him that it has all the brush strokes of the period and rattles on about why it's the real one.
No, there are the famous Franz House brushstrokes, influenced by the Venetian period. Oh, nobody can emulate those. No.
And so meanwhile, Deuce and Chooch are standing on either side of it, looking unimpressed. Mike tells them that there's been a robbery, and the curator says that's nonsense. 2 security men guard it all day, and at night he personally turns on the alarm. So he turns on the alarm. He says now the painting's protected by invisible beams. And if the beams are broken, the thief will be in jail in 5 seconds. And then for some reason, he walks over and picks the painting up, breaking the beams. And a jail cell falls from the ceiling and he's trapped inside.
Get me my lawyer!
He starts to cry uncontrollably.
Wonder if the term laser had been invented yet.
That's a good question.
Because it appears to be what they're going for, but they don't say laser.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, beams of light.
But anyway.
Yeah. So back at the pad, I guess the boys got out of there. And they say that they have to break into the museum and switch the paintings. And it's like, do you? You know what I mean? This doesn't affect you. You're only putting yourself in harm's way. You got out of there. The guy wanted to kill Peter.
Running short, boys.
Yeah. The guy wanted to kill Peter. You got him out.
You convinced us not to beat Peter for 10 minutes. We gotta come up with something else to do with the rest of the show.
So, but then I do have to say, then the episode becomes really cool because it becomes like a Mission Impossible or something.
Yes.
A spy kind of show. And so they get all their tools together.
Mission ridiculous, as Mike says.
Mission ridiculous.
And they gather a bunch of tools and 3 sandwiches, and off they go. So Davey's crawling up a fire escape onto the roof dressed in black, and Mike is doing a voiceover laying out their plan. And Davey has great physical comedy that he's bumping into everything, and he ends up electrocuting himself. Then Peter, he's described as having fancy footwork, and he kicks over a plant. And Davey picks it up, and he sees the plant is fake, so he just throws it off the roof, and it hits Mickey. Mike pops up on the roof, and he bumps into the same pole that everybody bumps into, and he also electrocutes himself. Then Mickey hops up on the roof, carrying the painting, and he sneezes, and he's described as the only weak link in the chain.
Oh, man.
Which is kind of funny. I wonder if that was a thing, like, in those episodes with the throwaway character, like in the voice, it's like, he was going to be the weak link in the chain. And that's what they're referencing or something.
Maybe. They didn't do the 99-pound weakling episode yet, did they? Did you say weak link or weakling? It might be...
I think it's weak link.
Maybe it's the slang of the time. I don't know.
A weakling in the chain.
Right after that intro, they're climbing down that rope ladder, right? During the rope ladder part, I think to myself, okay, these jokers haven't touched a fucking guitar all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of those episodes.
Exactly. Then when they come down that rope ladder, they're falling all over the place, all over each other. And they just tumble to the floor, essentially. And meanwhile, Chooch is just sleeping. At first, I didn't realize that was Chooch for some reason. I thought it was like a real security guard who was sleeping. So they get to the painting, and they put on the X-ray glasses so they can see the lasers.
Freaking lasers.
And Mickey's constantly meowing because he's a cat burglar. And Davey starts to walk around blindly and knocks over a sculpture.
The thing was almost 1,000 years old.
Oh, well, thank goodness it wasn't new.
Oh, man.
They take Davey to where the invisible beams are, and we see his POV, and there are pink and yellow beams all around the painting. It was kind of a cool shot to see.
Yeah, for real.
And so Davey moves through the beams, and he's doing his thing as he's doing it.
He's doing his best to make that a goddamn thing, isn't he?
He really is. He's pushing it. He doesn't get much time now, so he's trying to get any hook he can. He's like, don't only put me in for my O's. I gotta keep doing them. So Davey gets the painting down. He hands it over to Mike, and Davey asks for the other painting, and they have this funny game of telephone between the 4 of them.
Get the other painting. Get to the painting.
Get the other painting.
I forgot it.
He forgot it.
He forgot it. Where is it?
Where is it?
Where is it? It's up on the roof.
It's up on the roof. It's up on the roof.
We'll go get it.
We'll go get it.
Go get it. Okay.
Oh, shit.
So, and through all this thing, they're making so much noise, and Chooch is never waking up. We keep cutting to him, and he's sleeping. But then he drops his napkin, and that wakes him up. Boom! And he sprints out the door. And the boys see the security guard, and they freak out, while Peter's dangling on the ladder. But his feet aren't on the rungs. So when they first pull back, and you see, it looks like Peter just hanged himself. You just see his feet dangling there, and nothing else.
You know what? A second ago, I wish Chooch would have showed him in like a dream bubble of him beating the shit out of Peter, and that's why he's so preoccupied and not waking up.
Yeah, that's all he's dreaming of. So the boys strike a pose to look like a piece of art, and the security guy finds their sandwiches, like Chooch finds their sandwiches, and he takes them. And then Mike tells Mickey and Peter to follow that guard. And so they move around, following him, like moving around like a wall, chasing each other kind of thing. And then Chooch leaves to eat the sandwiches.
He's in for a lot of trouble.
Why? Because we're switching the paintings?
No, because I put hot mustard on those sandwiches.
See, this is second season Monkees. They got sandwich and condiment money.
Yeah,
But bam,
exactly.
They're raking it in nowadays.
Yeah, boom. That's when you know you made it. And so Chooch eats all the sandwiches, and then he pays the price. His face is on fire. And so the boys switch the paintings, and they're all on their way up the ladder. But Deuce is on his way down. And he asks if they're going somewhere, and they stammer for a bit, and then they all take off, which leads us to Monkees Romp number 1, Randy Scouse Get.
Yes.
So Deuce like punches someone, or no, sorry. What's his name? Chooch. Chooch like punches someone through a curtain a bunch of times, and it turns out it's Deuce. And for some reason, it's funnier than it really should be. Then everybody's wearing X-ray specs walking around. We cut back to Liberace, and he does his swing for the piano leg, and he misses it. And the hammer goes flying out of his hands. And that's definitely not on purpose. You could just tell by the look on his face. And the boys are in the Rainbow Room playing. Mickey's on timpani, Peter on keys, Davey on drums, Mike's on guitar. Mickey backs in to that artist guy, and the artist grabs him again. Mike and Mickey are dancing. The boys go into a closet to close the door behind them, and when it opens for Deuce and Chooch, it's a brick wall, and they all smash into it. Mike and Peter are floating outside the roof, like because they're just standing there, like flying like birds. Davey's a work of art that's spitting water out of his mouth. Peter's showing the thieves around the museum, and he goes past a painting, and it's the other guys holding the frame in front of them, and then they just run around the basement. The artist bites Mickey's ear. That's like a post-Van Gogh, pre-Tyson nod, I think.
Wow. Split into difference.
Yeah. And just general madness and mayhem goes on. Deuce has a gun, and he's pointing it at himself for some reason.
Gun.
They snuck it in. I didn't think it was going to make it in the episode, but at the very last, or second last shot of the romp, there's a gun. So then the boys end up in the cell with Deuce and Chooch at the end. In a big, huge pile. You know what they say?
It ain't a romp without a gun.
They do say that. The curator, he's now taking people through like the press or something. I don't know, his people. He's taking them through the museum, showing it off. And he comes to the cell with everybody piled on top of each other. And he tells them that it's a new exhibit. And he handles it pretty well. He knows exactly what's going on here. Right? He already showed people that if you take the painting, you're going to get a cell. But he's just like, oh yeah, whatever. So back at the pad, Mickey has put that shirt he was wearing in a frame to make it a work of art. And Mike is just walking around singing. And Mickey tells Peter that he's glad he's done with painting. And Peter says he's on to building things now. And Mickey sits on a chair that Peter built, and it falls apart instantly. And we end with Liberace smashing the piano and putting the sledgehammer back in its case. And like, again, he looks like he's having the time of his life.
For real. Did you notice on the end credits, it's day, space, dream, space, believer?
No, I didn't notice that.
It's true. And also, during the credits, Chip Douglas is credited as Chip Douglas for the first time, and not Douglas Farthing Hadalid, which is his real name. But his professional name was Chip Douglas. And for some contractual reason, because the Monkees poached him from the Turtles, he could not go as Chip Douglas. And for the first little bit of his contributions with the Monkees, he was Douglas Farthing Hadalid. But real quick, I don't think we got to talk too much about Chip Douglas yet, because this is his first credited by his professional name. Let me tell you a couple things about Chip Douglas, all right?
Hit me up.
Chip Douglas, one of his early bands was called the Modern Folk Quartet. Part of this band was Henry Diltz, who you might know as like the unofficial or maybe official Monkees photographer. He was in this band with him back in like early 60s. And they were produced by Phil Spector, and their drummer was Fast Eddie Ho.
What a band.
So there's some pieces in place that would come into play a couple years later with the gang. And also, Chip Douglas was an associate of Harry Nilsson. And he would go on to introduce Harry to the boys, and obviously was an important character there.
Definitely. Yeah. Look at that, eh?
So, like, yeah, Chip Douglas brought a lot of the musical supporting cast with him when Mike stole him from the Turtles.
He's just going from one animal name to another.
Like, he wasn't the Turtles' original bass player. He joined in time to play bass and do the arrangement for Happy Together.
That's the time to hop in, not hop out.
For real. So after all that success and the Monkees having like wrestled creative control, but wanting someone around who maybe had some experience, who could maybe play the bass while Peter's on the keys, he was the guy. He was around in LA, and they got him. And for the next couple albums, he contributes. And we're like in the heart of it right now. The headquarters Pac and J period is Chip Douglas time.
Man, that's like prime Monkees time in general. Like this whole second season and beyond.
For real. And like he's part of that the way Boyce and Hart is part of the first two albums.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. No, it's very, very much so. So with this episode, overall thoughts, like I said before, I really like this episode a lot. It's a really good time. It breaks from the norm, even though there is no banding in it whatsoever other than Randy Scout skit.
Just the Rainbow Room stuff, which, we'll take it.
What else do you need, really?
I think you're right about that interview being after the Rainbow Room stuff, because Mike has those blue shades and all that.
Yeah.
And they're really giving her throughout this whole session.
Yeah, that's why Mickey's so spent entirely.
It's like they shot it like 10 seconds after they played this exact song, Randy Scout's Get.
8 times in a row. Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about this episode? I gotta say, Monty Landis is so good in it. It's kind of a good Peter episode, but it's not. It's also, it feels kind of like a Mike episode with a Mickey supporting and Davey way down in the list for some reason.
Like they're kind of in these roles. Like Mickey gets to do all this silly slapstick shit. Mike kind of takes the lead and does like any complicated talking. So like I was saying, this is sort of an unfamiliar episode. I'm not sure we've seen it very often, if at all, back in the 90s.
I feel we definitely saw it, but it's not one where I'm watching it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I remember all this. Were there guns in the episode? Yep. Very end of the romp. They snuck one in.
Slipped them in there.
It was close. Highlight of the show. Man, I don't know. I know what my highlight of the show is just Monty Landis, his character of Deuce or Duce or Douche. He stole the show from me. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, I kind of like the exchange about this. Mike's hat. I like that part. It was really funny.
Yeah, that was great. Was there a Monkees ruse? When they were pretending to be the exhibit? Might be the
sort
closest.
of, yes. And Peter is unwittingly participating in a ruse with the painting switching.
Yeah. So
I guess that counts.
Kind of.
And they are also behaving as cat burglars, which are ruse artists by definition.
That's true. Fourth wall break, when they said that means they switched the paintings.
Yes.
They look right at the camera. We get a little push in as well. Best musical moment, Randy Scout skit in the Rainbow Room, I think.
Yep.
We agree on that. So yeah, would you say Randy Scout skit's the better one or Daydream Believer's the better one for the best musical
I'd have
moment?
to go Randy Scout skit, because,
Yeah, me too. What wouldn't fly in 2021? I think this is a pretty safe episode.
Yeah, that's true, Paco.
Yeah, I think I made it. All right, so some did you knows. One we've kind of hit, Vic Taybeck. He's in 2 other episodes, Your Friendly Neighborhood Kidnappers and Son of a Gypsy. And this is his last appearance on the Monkees. Was this one today. He never got to beat anyone up. In the scene after the intro, I don't know if anyone saw this, but you can see the boom mic at the bottom of the screen kind of pop into frame for a second. And this is what we were talking about earlier. Mike has some dubbed lines throughout this. And one of them is when he says only a fool would be in the basement.
Yeah.
He actually says only an idiot would be in the basement. And maybe they thought that was a little too harsh.
Too harsh.
And just Peter's a fool. He's not an idiot. He's not stupid. He's just like dumb. He's just innocent.
On the dummy scale, he's on the fool end.
Yeah.
Not the idiot end.
And see, I find recently, I was talking about this with somebody, how if somebody in a TV show is stupid, right? And it's a long TV show, goes on for seasons and seasons. After a while, I get to be like, oh my God, this person's just stupid. But if they're innocently dumb, they can get away with it forever. Like Peter or like Joey from Friends. He's very dumb, but he's innocently dumb. So it's like, well, he's not just an idiot. So they get away with it better than like Big Tasty in the Goldbergs.
Screech in the New Class. And I don't know, Cody on Step by Step. Or Boy Meets World, the older brother went like,
oh yeah,
full buffoon near the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just can't take it after a while. But anyway,
yeah. That's for sitcom Valley Sunday.
Yeah,
next week.
Exactly. Another thing, when Mike is introducing them all as their cat burglars, each have nicknames, and Davey is the Manchester Marauder, Peter's the Connecticut Counter Spy. Mike is the Towering Texan, and Mickey is a Los Angeles Leopard. Which also might explain why I was meowing the whole time. One thing I feel, them in their black, I couldn't find anything to back this up, but them when they're in their black cat burglar suits, when they're in that, I think those are the pictures that are on the cover of Missing Links Volume 2. When they're all in the black shirts.
I think you're right.
There's a couple times where I saw them and I recognized it because I knew that record very well.
Yeah, that's a big deal. A big damn deal.
Yeah. And just to go on with our credit count, I don't think we did it last time because I was dumb, but for the guests in the episode, Arthur Mallet, who is also Toodles and Hook, he has 139 credits on his IMDb. Vic Taybeck, he has 149 credits on IMDb. Wow. And Michael Bell, the guy who played the artist, he has, just take a guess. It's more than those, but take a guess.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
189.
379 credits.
No way.
Yeah, it has a ton of voice work, like a ton of voice work.
Okay.
But
yeah, that could pile up.
Still, 379 credits. That is something else.
That's unreal.
And that there is art for Monkees Sake. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, man.
Great times. Great times.
Okay. Up next, as part of the Randomatic Countdown, we occasionally give the Wool Hat of Mystery a little breather. And we do a little something called the Honorary Slip In, where we discuss a tune or two that are not in the hat, which contains the Monkees' official albums and singles, and we talk about something from the fringes of the Monkee catalog. And today we're going to do a couple of those. Paco, you've picked out something. What do you got?
For me, it's from it was on the show. They did it live when they did it, and it's on the Missing Links Volume 2 album.
All right,
and it's Ryu Shiu.
Ooh.
Ryu Shiu la guardaribera, Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera. Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera. Ryu Shiu la guardaribera. Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera. Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera.
For that song, when they played it on that Christmas episode, it was like, I loved it. I thought it was the greatest song. I loved it, and how they sang it all together live was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I remember when I got Missing Links Volume 2 and it was on it. I got it in August, And I remember playing that song a million times. And for me, it always feels like a Christmas song because it is, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And but I love that song. And on the Monkees Christmas album, if you bought it at certain places, like Target or Walmart or something like that, it included Ryu Shiu on the Monkees Christmas album.
Yeah.
But I have the CD and I didn't have it on there, and I have the record. I don't think it's on that either.
It's extremely disappointing that there's a Monkees Christmas album and Ryu Shiu is not just on it.
Yeah.
And you have to go find it.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's extremely disappointing.
And very strange. Like, why that song of all the songs was, this is what we'll give the department store.
Yeah. But aside from that, it was very cool, very special to see it on the show. The four boys singing together, a cappella.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. And we obviously love it.
Yeah. I think it's a great song.
And definitely worthy of a spot on our countdown. Speaking of segues, where would you put it on our spectacular countdown?
Hoo-wee. Let me have a look here.
Do you like it more than our songs from Dolan Jones' Boyce and Hart?
See, yeah, I think I do. I would put it honestly at right after. Oops, I just had it. I would put it right after Daydream Believer and before Gonna Buy Me a Dog at number 41.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, I think Gonna Buy Me a Dog is very high for where it should be.
I think, wasn't this just after? Well, it was right after we pulled Auntie Griselda. And I think we had just seen it recently in an episode, which makes you like that song a lot when you see all the shit going on.
Yeah, it'll definitely be in the reshuffle.
That said, maybe we relocate it down because it's not better than Words, tell you what.
No. Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, for now, Ryu Shiu at number 41 on the Randomatic Countdown. So my particular pick for the Randomatic Countdown is a tune that I don't think we put in the hat, but it probably should have been because it is a B-side. It is MGBGT by Peter Tork and the Monkees.
Cruising, choosing, using, and amusing myself, not a care. Striving, driving, riding anywhere. Folks, this little car of mine is like a kitten purring through to me. Sometimes it even seems so into the heavens, my red MGBGT.
Written by Peter. It's kind of a goofy little song. It's not on any actual albums, but it's cute and fun, and there's about 2 paragraphs worth of lyrics. He's singing about a car, and this version that is on the B-side of Heart and Soul has like the craziest crowd noise, which is allegedly from the '86 reunion tour. But man, these kids are going out.
Kids loved the Monkees in '86, dude, and their parents did too. It was a cross-generational phenomenon.
I thought I'd also keep the Peter streak alive. We had a pretty fun Peter song last week. Yeah, and this is also a Peter song it just feels like a Peter song. It's got a little banjo plucking. It's got that chipper vibe that not a lot of Monkees music has, but most Peter music has.
That's fantastic.
Agreed. Yeah, it's definitely it makes you like snap your fingers and get into it, and just like if you have a couple of drinks, you're dancing around like an idiot.
And it's like it's a little silly, but there's like car sound effects made by the instruments, and it's just fun, man. It's just fun. Like a lot of music is about cars and stuff, but
and great harmonies. The bridge is really great. It's a really great song, I think.
And it's autobiographical. You could actually find Peter's actual MGBGT if you look it up online.
Really?
Yeah, it's the car he had back then. Like there's pictures from like the teen magazines of him with the car.
Wow. I hope he always had it. I hope he just kept it.
I think times might have got a little tough, but who knows, man.
All right. So where do you want to put it here in our Randomatic Countdown? We'll have a mystery.
Great question, Paco. great question. Cripple Creek a little better, I gotta say. And I would tuck it behind Our Own Little World, just ahead of Tomorrow's Gonna Be Another Day. What do you think? This will be number 51.
Yeah, that works.
All right. And so concludes another edition of the Podcast Valley Sunday Honorary Slip In. Cue the organ.
We have 48 songs left in the toque. Or in the wool hat, sorry.
48 to go.
Yeah, crazy.
Unreal.
Crazy.
There's still a couple. I'm still waiting on a few. I don't know about
definitely.
you, man.
My favorite one's still out there. Still residing in the wool hat of mystery.
I got a guess or two. I wonder if, yeah. I think I know. Or do I?
We'll find out.
We'll see.
We'll find out.
Tune in next time. Chooch and the douche on Z91.
So everyone, thanks for checking us out as always. From me, Paco.
And me, Jeff.
Have yourselves a monkey's little evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey Monkees fans. With everything going on with social distancing, Podcast Valley Sunday will be on every 2 weeks. We hope you're staying safe, we hope you're staying at home, and we hope that you're listening to the Monkees and obviously Podcast Valley Sunday. You can check us out on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. And please, rate us and leave a message. We'd love to hear from you. But, as always, be gentle with us. We're very sensitive.